Gravesend podcast. Big Time Tommy
Willie.
and Michelle today. We have Michelle with us. Michelle Francesco is the producer of the show Gravesend.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome, my dear.
Thank you so much. I'm such an honor to be here.
And it is an honor to have you.
And it's an honor to have a very special guest today. I can't say enough great things about this guy. I don't know him that long, but ever since I have met him, I can say that he's someone that I really, really have a lot of respect for. He's went a long way in his life, and he's a real good guy, and I'm so happy to have him as one of our cast members in Gravesend, and he's here to tell his story, and we're very happy to have
Thank you.
Ray Negron.
Thank you, brother.
And very, very interesting stories.
Thank you.
Very interesting
Thank you.
stories.
It's good to be on with you guys. I'm a big fan. Always loved the show from, since I started watching it. It's unbelievable what you've done. Good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ray. And I know a lot of people, know who you are, and you've said your story a lot. But I see how you. What I notice about you too is how you do things for charity, and how you brought the Yankee organization, and how you've, with that, being so close to that organization, how you've helped so many people with charity. I see you do so much, and how you get players involved, and how you care about the kids, and how you do so many things for the community. Because I know that you were down and out yourself, right? You wrote graffiti on Yankee Stadium. That's how this all began for you. How you got into the cathedral.
William, guys, 6 boys in my house. There were 6 boys, and I'm the only one that didn't vacation on the island. You know what I'm talking about. What island am I talking about?
Rikers Island.
Thank you. 6 boys in the house. I'm the only one that's alive today.
Oh, sorry.
Okay?
God bless.
So the aspect that in doing a criminal thing and being caught by George Steinbrenner and putting into a lockdown situation, and because someone says that's where he belongs, there's nothing you can do with him. George Steinbrenner took that as a direct challenge, and he said, give me the kid. And he took me to the Yankee locker room, and he told the equipment manager, Pete Sheehy, give him a uniform. He's got damages he's going to work off. And that night, I was the bat boy for the New York Yankees.
Wow.
And after the game, George Steinbrenner was very happy because we had beat the Cleveland Indians, which is where he was from. And the year before, he tried to buy the Indians, and he was rejected. And fortunately, he was able to buy the Yankees. And so after the game, he says, did you enjoy your job? I said, I loved my job. He says, do you want to keep it? I said, you mean I have a chance to keep it? He says, yeah. If you talk to your boys, the guys that were with you doing the graffiti today, and tell them to keep their hands off my building. He says, and if they don't keep their hands off the building, then you're fired. And I thank God that they listened to me, and they never messed with Yankee Stadium walls again, and I was able to keep that job.
Ray,
That's
so
amazing.
were you a graffiti artist? Is that
No. We was
were you just doing vandalism?
we-
You just were
we
like,
just-
I want to just.
F you, kiss my ass, whatever
And how
came
old
to
were
our
you?
head.
How old were you?
17.
Wow.
I was 17 in
And you grew up in
1973.
the Bronx?
I lived in Westchester Avenue and 161st Street. But the irony of that is 161st Street. So 161st Street goes from Hunts Point all the way to the cathedral.
To the Yankee Stadium.
Exactly.
161st and River, right?
Right.
So when you were a kid growing up, and you said you had 6 siblings, right? You grew up in the street, you hanging out, you playing stickball and stuff like that.
Hey.
Were you a Yankee fan?
I love the Yankees because I had seen the movie The Pride of the Yankees.
Oh,
And I fell in love with Gary Cooper.
Wow.
And I fell in love with the aspect of Lou Gehrig. And I wanted to be a Yankee.
And did you?
It's amazing.
So you also had you played ball too, correct? You played.
Because of the fact that I got to work out with the Yankees every day, because Steinbrenner said, go work out with the guys. Can you play? I said, a little bit. Go work out with the guys. 2 years later, I was drafted in the second round by the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Right, this is an
It's the
insane
start of
story.
his life.
So you're 17 years old. Who grabbed you? The security people grabbed
George
you?
Steinbrenner and a security guard.
So George Steinbrenner rolled up on you?
Absolutely. He pulled, we were on the wall. He pulls up in a car, navy blue Continental. He pulls right onto the sidewalk. Two guys run out. I'm the one that's caught. Okay? Two
he
guys.
went like gang. He was like an OG gangster.
Oh, he
like,
thought he was.
gonna-
He thought he. George Steinbrenner loved all the gangster movies. Okay, George Steinbrenner loved. I hate to say it, but he loved the characters like the John Gottis and the Al Capones, and then later on he would fall in love with Sonny in A Bronx Tale.
Wow.
And one time, years later, a guy named Bill Fugazi from Fugazi Continental, he was one of George Steinbrenner's running buddies. And he says, I saw a movie about you and Ray. And Steinbrenner didn't know what he was talking about. And he turned to me, he says, you cut a deal without letting me know? And Fugazi goes, no, George. I'm talking about a new movie that just came out. It's called A Bronx Tale. And the story mirrors each other.
Oh, Steinbrenner's Sonny, Cologito you.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
And-
He was your mentor.
And so what happens is 2 weeks later, George being George, he got a hold of Chaz Palminteri. He invited him to Yankee Stadium. I get emotional.
Wow.
He says, go to my seats. I go and I said, Chaz. I said, oh my God. And we talked the whole game. And that was 30 years ago.
Wow.
And Chaz has been a true friend.
And now you're in the show with
God
Chaz.
bless.
That's so
And
awesome.
now you're in the show with us with Chaz Palminteri.
That's so awesome.
And to see George talking to Chaz, and like George didn't humble himself to nobody. I only seen him humble himself to two people in my whole life, Chaz and Mr. Sinatra.
Wow. So Ray, so what year is this now that we're talking about? So you were there for you got rings. You were part of '77. You were part of '76 too. And so Billy Martin was your boy, right?
Billy Martin was my father.
That's crazy.
One time, George Steinbrenner was out of town, and this man who was he was a big security guy. I won't mention names because these guys have kids, and I don't ever want the kids to be thinking that their father was a bad guy, but this guy was a bad guy, and George was out of town, so he saw me having fun. He saw me enjoying my job with the Yankees as their bat boy. So he went on the field and he grabbed me and he says, walk off, don't make a scene. And I wanted to punch him in the face right there, but I walked off. He took me to the visitors' locker room where they kept all the shoes that had to be shined. And so he says, shine all the shoes. Your people are good at that.
Oh my God.
And then
This is a baseball player said this to you?
no, this was a security guard that worked for the boss.
This is what he said to you?
And so
Oh my God.
all of a sudden, Elston Howard, who's the Yankees' great coach,
Yeah.
came in and he said, give me the kid, Pat. Why are you doing this? And so then he took me back to the Yankees locker room, and then 2 days later when George got back, they had me upstairs and I had to explain what happened. And Billy Martin, in listening to all of this, I had said, like George said, why did this happen to you? And I said, because I'm not white, I said, I wish I was white. And Billy Martin just railed on me like angry. And he said, you be proud of who you are. He says, next time I ever hear you say that, I'm going to slap the shit out of you. You know what I'm saying? 2 days later, he had me at Patsy's restaurant. He said, we're going to dinner. Don't make any plans.
He ate upstairs, right?
And so he takes me to Patsy's. And then he takes me upstairs at Patsy's. And he takes me to the corner table. And I'm having dinner with Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr.
Is that amazing? Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, after a few of Mr. Sinatra's corny jokes that we all were laughing at real hard, especially Sammy Davis Jr., he was like jumping off the table. You know what I'm saying? So I laughed. I found it funny. I'm laughing more at them than I was at Mr. Sinatra's jokes. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Sinatra turned to me and he says, Billy told me what happened to you. He says, if I worked there, number one, I would do what Billy Martin, I'm sure, is eventually going to do, slap the hell out of that guy that said that to you.
Mm-hmm.
He said, but number two, he says, I'm ashamed of you, he said to me. I'm ashamed of you. He said, you don't ever disrespect who you are or what you are or why God made you who you are. He said, I went through this with Sammy. He called him Smokey. That was his nickname for him. He said, I went through this with Smokey in the 40s when he ran some bull crap like this to me. He says, you don't ever disrespect your race. He says,
Love the person that you are.
love the, yeah. Wow. And it was like, but the way he said it, he made me cry.
Wow.
Because he was right.
So right. And Sinatra back then with Sammy Davis Jr., back then when, because Sammy was a great talent, they used to make the entertainers back then enter the business that they were performing in that night through the back door. They weren't allowed to sit in the restaurants and eat amongst the other people, which were white. They had a separate section with one table in the back. And Sinatra said, if you want me playing here, if you want me to perform here, Sammy walks through the front door with me, and Sammy sits at our table. Otherwise, I ain't playing for you. You ain't getting Sinatra. That's what he was telling you. Be proud of who you are, stand your ground, and don't ever let anybody tell you different.
And let me say this, an incredible lesson that Mr. Steinbrenner taught me through that whole incident was, he said to me, there's a fine line between prejudice and jealousy. And he said, as you grow up, you're going to find out that jealousy is way worse than prejudice. And I didn't understand, me being a wise guy. So how could that be? Number one, I don't have anything. How could that be? And he says, you have my friendship. Okay? And there's a fine line between friends and acquaintances.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I have a lot of acquaintances. And he says, and I hear them say that they're my friend. They ain't my friend. He said, you're my friend. And a lot of these assholes they're jealous that I'm your friend.
Wow.
So true and powerful.
I'm sure you probably had to deal with that in the neighborhood too, because now you moved from the neighborhood right into.
My friends were always proud of the fact that I was a Yankee.
That's great.
And I always took care of my friends.
I know that's exactly how you are. I see that in you now.
I would go to player, because every player is allowed 6 tickets. Okay? 4 family, 2 guests. And I would go from player to player, and I would say, you using your tickets tonight? No, you can have them. Bloomberg, you using your tickets? Mercer, you using Thurman, are you using your tickets tonight? He said, how many of your friends are you going to have here tonight? You know what I'm saying? They go, you can have them. You know what I'm saying? and I would leave anywhere from 30 to 50 tickets a night sometimes.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And all my
You
friends.
didn't forget.
You always
No.
get back.
And a lot of my friends ended up becoming bad boys too. And a
That's
lot of my
great.
friends, if they weren't bad boys, they were peanut vendors or whatever. Mr. Steinbrenner put a lot of my friends to work.
So you were on the
That's
field in
amazing.
1977 when Reggie hits those 3 home runs.
1977, we're driving to the ballpark because here's a funny thing. Billy Martin had a cowboy store on 73rd and Madison. Reggie lived on 79th and 5th. So my thing was, I would go to Yankee Stadium. I would deal with Mr. Steinbrenner. I would get him his pastrami on rye over at the Yankee Tavern. Come back. You okay? You need anything or no? I'm good. Okay. Then I would go over to Reggie Jackson's, and I would answer his fan mail and take care of the phones. If I had to go to the store for him, okay, I took care of that. And then I would go to Billy Martin's cowboy store 3 blocks away, 4 blocks away, and then I would do inventory in the basement on the cowboy boots, the hats, and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So I was hustling.
So you were close. Reggie was your boy.
Reggie was a big brother,
That's
but Billy
awesome.
was a father.
So being that they didn't like each other, were you caught in the middle of that?
Let me put it to you like this. One time I said to Billy, because he was like mother effing Reggie in his office.
And if you don't mind, why? Can you tell us, like, because maybe a lot of people don't know.
No,
What was the real story between Reggie?
there was
and-
just a jealousy between the two.
When
It
he
was.
lost
They
it,
were both
was
jealous
that
of each other?
Yeah.
because of the play in right field where he didn't? That wasn't
No, what happened was when Reggie first got there
from the Oakland A's.
from Oakland, he made a statement. I'm distraught. Number one, a reporter had asked him, now that you're a Yankee, do you think that you're going to become a big star? And Reggie said, excuse me, I brought that star with me. Okay? And so then Reggie said, I'm the straw that stirs the drink,
and that's what made that book.
and Thurman can only stir it bad.
You said that about Thurman?
So when he said that, and you know what, it was caught up, there was a lot of rigmarole going back and forth between him and the writer. So it came out that way, okay? And so then when that happened, the players, the one guy that you did not mess with was Thurman Munson, because he was our leader. Okay, and he didn't.
captain.
He's the
though-
captain.
Even though you weren't allowed to call him captain. He didn't like that. He didn't want to be the captain. He just wanted to be the guy. You understand?
He was MVP in 1976.
When they made him the captain, the initial uniform had a C on it, and he burnt it because he didn't want that C.
He wanted to be just like everybody else.
Just like everybody else. Okay, so naturally everybody got upset with him. When I'm upset with Reggie.
Of course.
And so that started the whole thing. And Billy, Thurman was like his son. Okay? So the aspect that he said that and all that started the whole commotion thing. And that wasn't his guy initially anyway. He wanted Joe Rudy. Billy wanted Joe Rudy from Oakland and not Reggie. But Thurman wanted Reggie.
Wow. So the guy that got you here is the guy now that you're putting down.
Right.
So
And he didn't understand that. Okay? But so then we ended up going to Boston, and Jim Wright is a fly ball to right field. Billy takes him out of the game because he thought he wasn't hustling or whatever, and the big fight started, and blah, blah, blah.
Yes, he jogged back.
You
Billy.
understand? Yeah.
I remember that whole thing.
Yeah, and I got into trouble because what had happened was when that was going down, NBC was trying to get their cameras in the dugout, and I took a towel and I draped it over the NBC cameras.
Oh my God.
Okay, and again,
That's
the,
crazy stuff.
the next day, the front page of the Boston Globe said, "Yankee cover up." And then they show Reggie and what do you call it, and then they show me covering the cameras. So it was like I was always caught in the middle of that stuff. And one time I said to Billy, should I not be his friend? And Billy turned to me and he goes, what the hell is wrong with you? He says, I see how he treats you. He treats you great. You must always treat a man the way a man treats you.
1000%.
Very good.
You understand? And he said, I can't stand the mother effer, but I'm going to tell you something. He's great to you. And you know what? Your friendship with him actually helps the team because we need him to win. It keeps him at bay. So just do what you're doing. I know it's real, so go ahead.
So when they win the World Series and Reggie hits those 3 home runs, at that point is Billy and you champagne's flying around. Do they hug each other, or is it still?
In August of that year, we were in Detroit, and the last players after a game was Reggie and Thurman. And so what happened was, when I went into the trainer's room, Thurman was having his knees worked on, and Thurman goes, "You guys still here?" I said, "Me and Reggie are gonna go to this place." And he goes, "Oh, what place you going to?" He says, "The Gordie House new sports bar." And Reggie wants to know if you want to go with us. Reggie wants to know? I said, "Yeah." "All right, yeah, I'll go with you guys." And then I went back to Reggie, and I said, "Reggie, Thurman wants to know if you want to go to Gordie House."
Oh, wow. I see what you did.
And he goes, "Thurman wants to?" He says, "Yeah." "Yeah, okay, let's go. Go get a cab. Have it ready for us when we get outside." And they came out. We went to Gordie House. We sit at a table, and they're talking this and that. "I can't stand you, can't stand you. I like you, I like you." By the time the dinner was over, they were like, yeah, this and that. And I was all happy and all that kind of stuff. And so then, everybody was like in love all of a sudden. And so then Reggie goes to Thurman, "Damn, thanks for inviting me."
That's great.
And Thurman looks at me. And he goes, "You little." Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
That's great.
"You little."
That's
You know what I'm saying? And I just looked out, and Reggie goes, "You mean he was lying?" And Reggie, I think we got caught up in this. He said,
You did a good job.
you know what I'm saying? And Thurman goes, "Listen, it worked."
It did.
Yeah.
That's all
So
that
did
matters.
Billy
So
and
then after that, Billy found out that they were cool.
Oh, good.
So then Reggie got real hot in September. We go to the World Series. And when we get to the World Series, Reggie hits the home run in the first home run. One pitch, he hits a home run. And so then I go up to him and says, "Hey, take a curtain call." He said, "Nah, I ain't taking no curtain call. I'm going to be cool." Second home run. First pitch, again, another home run. I go up to Reggie. "Reggie, curtain call." "No, I'm not taking a curtain call." And so I said, "If you hit a third home run, you will take a curtain call then, right?" And he goes, "Man, you're sick, but I'll do it." So then I had to pee that whole game. You understand? But I've been holding it because I didn't want to miss anything.
Of course.
But the bathroom was right there by the dugout. You know what I'm saying? So I go into the little tunnel, go in. At the minute, because I'm saying to myself, one pitch, home run. Second time, one pitch, home run. He's got to waste a pitch. Let me run to the bathroom real quick. The minute I open up my zipper, I hear, "Yeah!" And I said, "Oh, no." So I had to close the zipper and run out. The minute I run out, Reggie's already walking into the dugout. You see this in the pictures and the footage. You know what I'm saying? So you see me coming from that side and reaching. And so then afterwards, as soon as that's going on, Reggie's going over. Willie Randolph is giving him a hug. And you see me caught in the camera. I'm walking away. And then I remember, wait a minute, the curtain call. So I go running over and I said, "Willie, get out of the way." "Reggie, curtain call. You promised." He looks at me. He looks out. He takes the curtain call.
That was sick.
You know what I'm
Curtain
saying?
call's legendary.
That was amazing.
Exactly. And now you hit a foul ball, you take a curtain call.
No, wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Just to be there for that game,
No,
man. But the electricity.
Well, let me put it to you this way. The game is ending, right? The game is over. We're in the locker room. Reggie's holding that bat. And so I said, Reggie, can I have the bat? He said, what are you, crazy? I said, the only people I would consider having this bat is the Hall of Fame. Other than that, this is going home with me. And so at that moment, he puts the bat down, and he starts taking off his jock strap. And I said, because I said, man, I want this something to represent the night.
Oh, my God.
So he takes off his jock strap, and he throws it at me. You know? So I'm holding the jock strap. So you know what? I put it in my bag. He said, what are you doing? I said, you just gave it to me. I want something from the night. He said, man, you're really sick. You're scaring me now. So I kept the jock strap. And you know what was funny? Years later, I invited the actor Richard Gere to Yankees fantasy camp. So he comes over to my house, and I have like a little museum in Florida. And so then he said, Ray, what's with the jock strap? I tell him the story.
That's rich. Wow.
So the next day he goes to the Yankees fantasy camp, and he plays in the game, and he has a good game. You know what I'm saying? He turned a double play and all that kind of stuff. So after the game is over, the equipment guy says, Mr. Gere wants you.
Oh, no.
So I go, yeah, Richie, you call me? He says, yeah. He wasn't wearing a jacket, he was wearing his underwear. So if you go to my house now, his underwear is next to Reggie's jockstrap.
Great story.
And you know, let me just say that Derman was leaving. As Derman was leaving that night after the 3 home runs, he said, you sure put on a hell of a game, Mr. October.
Wow.
And Reggie goes, Mr. October. Damn, I like that. I'm going to keep that. And Derman says, don't say I never gave you anything, MF. You know what I'm saying? And he says, more than you'll ever know. You know, and that's where the name came from Derman Munson.
And Derman died what year?
1979, August 2nd.
So, what was that like? Like, did you speak to Derman right before you got on that plane? What was the like?
I used to drive Derman to Teterboro Airport, okay? And I love driving Derman to Teterboro Airport. Ask me why.
God, why?
Because after I drop him off, I would have a brand new Cadillac to drive around.
Oh, until he came back.
Until he came back.
That's great.
So it was, you know, you understand? Come on, Puerto Rican, and I'm picking up every girl in town. You know what I'm saying? So I was having the time of my life.
So
but
the whole idea about the plane was that
So he wanted to go home.
Day, he was a big family man.
He was a big family guy. He wanted to be able to go. Hey, we were in Boston one time, and I drove up, you know? And so after the game, he was supposed to go with the team to Kansas City. And he goes, hey, you got your car here? And I said, yeah. Drive me to Teterboro. So from Fenway Park, I'm driving here to Teterboro. And I said, right. And I said, Dermot, what's the rush? If I get home in time, I can tuck in Michael, because his baby had just been born.
Oh, wow.
You understand? So that's what he wanted to do. So we, like this, me and this other bad boy. And what's so cute about that drive, it was like people didn't know Thurman. You know what I'm saying? Because, anyway, we stop off at a McDonald's. And, you know, he orders a whole bunch of everything he could eat. And as we're driving, like, I was sitting in the back, and the bad boy, Hector Pagan, was driving. And Thurman was in the passenger seat. And he's feeding him, then picking up the soda. You know what I'm saying? It was, like, beautiful. Because I'm sitting in the back. I'm just watching. Like I was saying to myself, people, they thought they knew Thurman Munson.
But they didn't.
They didn't.
You know the real him.
Did you drive him to the day that? Were you the last person to talk to him then? That.
No. What had happened was, I was supposed to drive him, and the game ran extra innings. And so he says to me, "Hey, you're not driving me tonight." And I said, "Why not?" And he says, "Because it's too late. I don't want you driving back from Teterboro at 1 a.m, this and that. No, I don't want that. Something happens, then I'll be pissed." I'll be sick to my stomach if something happens to you, etc., what have you. So, no, I'm just going to leave the car there. And I said, come on, man. And I said, no. You hear me? No. And so after the game, you know, I take his bags up, put it in the car, and he said, hey, don't get into trouble. I'll see you when I get back. And that was the last time.
Oh, man.
You know? That was the last time.
It's rough.
But
Is it true that particular day he invited like Pinella
and Reggie.
and oh, it wasn't Mercer, it was Reggie.
Mercer and Reggie. And they didn't go.
And they says, no, go home and be
Reggie,
with your family.
at that point, was flying with Thurman here and there. Like I said, they had become really good friends. Really good friends.
And he would fly back to Ohio just to be with his family on
Yeah.
that one day in between, you know, the day off.
Yeah.
And that's it. He bought that plane from Wayne Newton, didn't he? From Vegas?
I don't even know the backstory. That was a newer plane because he had a propeller plane, and then he went from the propeller plane to the jet, and so he was still learning how to deal with it, how to maneuver it, and stuff like that.
He drove the plane too.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, he was the
he
pilot.
flew. He was a pilot. He had
And
a license.
There was some kind of storm that night or something that happened with...
Well, that they saw the flashes coming off the engine. You know what I'm saying? But
I mean, it was...
He was by himself, right?
no, he was with two guys when he died.
Oh.
He was with two guys because they were testing it, touch and
Okay.
goes.
But they weren't players, though, right?
No, they were just engineer guy, pilot, and another pilot.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted them to see what was dealing with the
Gotcha.
plane. And so what happened was when the plane hit this tree stump when it came down, because they had done like two of them, and then he wanted to do one more. And when they did the third one, as it went off, hit the stump, and the steering column went into him. And so he was stuck. And so they tried to pull him out to the point of one of the guys has to this day burns all the way through.
Those guys survived?
Yeah, the two guys survived. Thurman screamed out, go, go, go. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
And that's how he died. And the next day, Steinbrenner had to let us know what happened and how it happened. And that clubhouse,
Oh my God.
is like
Devastation.
the screaming and the crying, and I
Wow.
mean to see
Their leader, their
my
captain.
heroes screaming and crying like children was like nothing I had ever seen. And when we went to the funeral, like Thurman's wife said to me, you know how much he loved you, right? And after she said that, I my body I fell on the floor. And Mr. Steinbrenner's guys had to pick me up. And they brought me over to him. And he held me. He held me.
Wow.
Well, you're all heart, Ray.
Yeah.
You're all heart, bro. That's what I love about you. You're all heart. So, before we get into the whole charity thing and all the things you do for everyone in your acting career, I wanted to ask you, because you've been with this organization for all these years. And look, no matter what anyone says, the New York Yankees is the #1 organization in all sports.
The greatest franchise
I mean,
in
no matter how
sports
you look at it,
history.
whether you're from New York or not from New York, the cathedral is the cathedral. The Yankees are the Yankees, you know, and you've been with them front and center. All these teams and all these like decades. What team would you say if you resonated the most with? I mean, because I know you were also there for the Joe Torre days. You were there for the Billy Mon days, Bob Lemon days. Like you were there for the days when Ricky Henderson and Mattingly, the 80s when the Mets owned the town. What was it like? What could you say out of all this experience? Which one of those franchises that you witnessed was the best team, or like had the most unity which one would you say like was if you could pick any of the years? What team would you say?
The Yankees of the '70s. It wasn't even close, because those were men. Those were men. Men led by men. You understand? My children, and I'm going to say this.
Wow.
I love the aspect of my overall heritage today because, number one, my children get to be half Italian. You understand what I'm saying? The Italian thing means a lot to me. Hey, in my family, we have black, naturally Hispanic. My daughter went and got one of those heritage tests, whatever thing, you know, and she said, Dad, do you know that we're 47% black? You know what I'm saying? But my children are half Italian because of their mom. Billy Martin once said to me, when I was like feeling very insecure, you know, about Billy, I was feeling insecure about Billy because of Reggie. And Billy turned to me and he like grabbed it like this against the wall. You know what I'm saying? Because he just, like, Billy used to get into a rage. And he says, God damn it. Don't you understand that even if you were Italian, I couldn't love you anymore? You understand?
He loves you.
And I knew how proud of his Italian heritage he was, how much that meant to him. Like Mr. Sinatra, the same, you know, that machismo Italian pride.
Yeah.
And for him to say that to me at that period, because remember, in those days, in the streets, there was no this BS today like, oh, I'm Dominican, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm this and that. No, in those days, you were either black or you were white. There was no in between. You understand? That's just the way the streets were.
Right.
Okay? And so you know, and so naturally, I dealt with a lot of insecurities about these things. And for Billy to say that, you know, because he was a man's man. You understand? Billy was like you. He was built like you, you know, but he'd take on anybody at any time, at any place. He don't care.
Yeah.
Reggie, you want me? We're going to go. You know, that, you know?
So when you speak about the Italian, because I know obviously Joe Torre was the next manager, Italian from Brooklyn, was obviously from what you're saying, Billy was your boy. Billy was like, you and Billy were like this, but if you don't mind
If me and Billy were like this, okay, and again, I'm honest. If me and Billy were like this, me and Joe Torre were like this. They was not even close, okay? Billy was a man. That's all I got to say. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say a negative about Joe. I'm just gonna say that Billy was a man. If I'm going to war, I ain't going with Joe. I'm going with Billy. You understand?
Yeah.
Period. Okay, and that the whole aspect of it. If Billy had $2 in his pocket and a guy needed it, that $2 was his.
Wow.
Okay, that's who he was. And Dermot Munson, Lou Piniella, I mean, those guys were men. Okay, men. My uncle gets shot. My uncle owned a bar in Chicago. He got shot 7 times in a hold-up situation, okay? And he survived. He was a big guy. And so the bullets didn't go to where they were supposed to go, thank God. And so what happened was Mr. Steinbrenner finds out about the shooting, and the team was going to Kansas City and Chicago. Mr. Steinbrenner says, go on the trip so that you can go see your uncle. Okay, when we get to Chicago, I'm sitting in the lobby, and all the players knew my uncle been shot and stuff. So Lou Piniella comes down, and he goes, let's go. Aren't you going to see your uncle? And I said, Lou, I'm scared because I don't know how he's going to be. And he goes, come on, I'll go with you. Wow. And he jumped in a cab. We went to the hospital.
That's it, man. That's hard. So
That's the
Pinella.
Yankees.
so then you get
That's
to,
the Yankees
so
for you.
we all know, 'cause I hung out in the China Club, and when Derek Jeter came here, he was the king of New York.
Right.
He was the man. You were down with that in the China Club days, with Derek Jeter, Chuck Knobloch, and all those guys hanging out in the China Club, and being around Jeter. What was that like? With Derek Jeter, how did you feel like?
I like Derek's a nice kid. He, especially at that time. At that time, Steinbrenner had me like with all of his prized players and stuff like that. Like for instance, in 1996, he was a rookie, so my responsibility was I had to hang out with, I had to watch over Doc and Darryl, and then I also had to watch over Jeter. Okay, so wherever I was, Jeter had to be there, and vice versa. Yeah, the whole China Club thing and this and that. You know what I'm saying?
Did you know when you first met Jeter that he was gonna captivate the whole city?
No,
Did you,
I didn't know that. How could you? You know what I'm saying? Like, here's the funny thing about Derek Jeter. He wasn't supposed to make that 1996 team. He was supposed to go to AAA. Okay, but our shortstop Tony Fernandez broke his
Toronto.
arm. Okay, so then we were trying to make a trade for a guy named Felix Fermin that was in Seattle. Okay, and Jeter comes up to me. Come on, man, you're close to Mr. Steinbrenner. Tell him I'm ready. Tell him I'm ready. You know what I'm saying? And so I did. I kept on telling Mr. Steinbrenner, you know what I'm saying? But Jeter made that team because he was Derek Jeter, you know?
Kid from Kalamazoo.
And, but it's funny because one
He had a
time when
dream.
Jeter became captain, at one time, like he said to me, these aren't his words, but what he meant was, how do I compare to a Thurman Munson as a captain? And I said, look, Derek, please, don't go there. That's all I said.
yeah, there was no.
He understood what that meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't go. I that's all I said. Don't go there.
And it wasn't bad against him.
No,
it was just
but
be
it was a different time.
Exactly.
The time. I think it's
Yeah.
not so much. It's the time, just the way that everything.
Yeah,
It's a different era.
exactly.
back then.
people carry themselves different.
Absolutely.
You know, and like for that team of the '70s, like we had Bucky Dent was
I
our
loved him.
shortstop,
It's just
and Bucky was the perfect guy for us. He was just the perfect guy
I think he came from the Chicago White Sox.
from the White Sox for Oscar Gamble. You know, but he was perfect for what we needed. Willie Randolph was perfect for what we needed.
That team. Oh my God,
You
Mickey
know?
Rivers. You know them all. They all.
Yeah.
I see how they respect you and love each other.
Chambers,
So
Willie
now,
Randolph,
since you bring up Bucky
Bucky
Dent,
Dent,
the home run against the Red Sox. What was it like to be there as front and center to see that when he hit that home run? Bucky came up, hit that home run. Yankees go to win the pennant on Bucky's home run. Crazy.
No, it was beautiful because it was so unexpected.
he's not a home run hitter.
Right.
He
You know.
chokes up on the bat.
Yeah.
You know,
He's
you-
got a very short swing.
And it wasn't like it was a rocket out of the park. It was a ball that just barely, like Yastrzemski goes to the wall, and he's like this, but the wall just barely makes it on this side of the wall, and you see Yastrzemski like leaning on the wall, like why, how, you know?
And that's how he got the nickname Bucky fucking Dent.
Right.
So
That was his
we
nickname.
were talking to Vic DiBattista. We had an episode with Vic. We were talking baseball and about how the game has changed and how we feel about it. Can you, because no one knows more like this than you, like you're seeing it right there. What do you feel about the way the game of baseball has changed?
See, because it's such a business-oriented situation, everybody's worried about the time, cutting the time. Listen, I'm from an era whereas when I went to, I used to love to go to Yankee doubleheaders on Sundays when I was a kid. And then, you're there all day at the park. I would sneak into the park, go into the right field bleachers. I was hoping for Mickey Mantle to hit a home run. You know what I'm saying? That was my thing. And the second game of that doubleheader, I was begging to God, please let's go extra innings. please, let's go extra
You didn't
innings.
care.
Never wanted
No.
the day to end.
You didn't want the day to end, so I'm the wrong guy to ask that question to because I don't, I mean, games are ending quick now,
Yeah, but
You know?
20 minutes difference,
You
25
know?
minutes.
but
You're
that-
only allowed 2 throws over to first base.
It's just ridiculous.
You're taken away from the whole game.
I just feel that the game has to be left alone.
Absolutely. I
Why
agree
change
with you.
magic?
I'll agree with that.
Exactly.
Why?
And Ray, I gotta tell you, as an actor, when we did the scene together, and again, we're so happy to have you in Gravesend, and you did such a great job. I mean, you're a talent, and I see you have the play and everything. Can you tell us a little bit more about the stuff you're doing?
Mr. Steinbrenner Mr. Steinbrenner loved the movie stars. Okay, I remember one time I go up to his, he calls me in the clubhouse. He says, "Bring up a dozen baseballs signed." So when I go upstairs with the baseballs, there's Kirk Douglas, Cary Grant, and Mr. Sinatra with Barbara Marx, his wife. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't say a word. I was, and I put it down and I left.
The people
You know
you
what I'm
must
saying?
have met
Man,
in
the
your
people
life.
you met through the
Forget
Yankee
it.
Stadium.
It's just
man, oh my God.
insane.
Well, here's a great one. Mickey Rivers was giving the boss some trouble. Okay? So a good friend of Mr. Steinbrenner's was James Cagney.
Oh,
You dirty.
So he had Mr. Cagney sit outside the locker room so that after batting practice was over, when Mickey was coming in, Mr. Cagney would say, "Mickey, come over here."
Oh my God.
And so he calls him over. They chit-chatted a little bit, and then all of a sudden, Mr. Cagney got up off the chair, and the two of them started doing a dance together. Unbelievable. A dance. You know what I'm saying? Like Yankee Doodle Dandy type of thing. It was unbelievable.
A
So
lot of stuff you
so
do.
when you meet all these people, and then this is how I got into the whole acting thing. What happened was Elvis Presley dies August 16th of 1977. So I was very sad about that because I loved Elvis. Most Puerto Ricans loved Elvis Presley. You watch the movies and all that kind of stuff.
course.
Come on, Elvis,
who wasn't dreaming?
for me,
of them?
I'm a dude, but I thought Elvis Presley was like the most handsome guy ever.
He had all the checks.
You know what I'm saying?
Elvis Presley.
He had all the checks.
Elvis
I
was a
loved him.
bad dude. You understand?
Yeah.
He could dance like an animal. I mean, everything.
He could
you know,
sing, girls
everything.
would throw their
everything.
clothes at
He
him.
could fight.
Would
You
you?
know, all
He was
of
a
that.
black belt.
You know.
Yeah.
So Elvis dies, and I was in Reggie's apartment, like answering fan mail. And so Reggie comes out of his room, and I hadn't said anything all day. He goes, "Dude, what's wrong? What's going on?" I said, "Elvis died today." He goes, "Yeah, it's too bad, but why is that affecting you like that?" And I said, "No, I loved Elvis." And so then Reggie goes, "Hey, you think I'm like the Elvis Presley of baseball, like the king of swing?" And so I've always been pretty slick. And so I said, "No." And he said, "Why?" And I said, "Because you know what? I'm going to tell you why. Whenever Elvis Presley did a movie, he always had his guys in his movies. The Memphis Mafia was always,
Yeah.
they had little parts. They were extras, stuff like that." I said, "And you doing all these commercials, you never put me in one of them."
Ah.
And so he couldn't be outdone. And I knew that. And he picked up the phone. He called up Matt Marola, his agent. And he said, "Matt, when's my next commercial?"
That's great.
And he goes, "You're doing a Volkswagen in September. Make sure Ray Negron is in it."
That's,
That's how it all began.
That's so cool.
And that's how I got my SAG card.
That's how we got the bug.
What's your relationship with Reggie Jackson now?
He's my oldest son's godfather.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? And here's the irony of that. My oldest son is 38 now. The reason that Billy Martin wasn't the godfather was because I knew Billy wasn't going to live long because of the alcoholism. You understand? And Billy was in such denial of his alcoholism. So I let Reggie be the godfather. You understand? And we're not as close as that era. I mean, that era we were inseparable. We were together all the time. And, I mean, when we talk, it's nice.
The Jeter era. Who was your paisan in the Jeter era? Who was the closest person to you through the Jeter era?
You know, it's I would probably have to say Doc Gooden. You know, because we went through hell and back with the whole drug addiction. You know, and George Steinbrenner, to his credit, he was a fan of Doc and Darryl from when they were with the Mets. He really adored them. And so he like adopted them as like sons. So he made me in 1995, I had to stay in Tampa the whole time that Doc was suspended from baseball and take him to meetings, take him to treatment.
Wow.
And whatever we had to do, make sure that he's working out and all that kind of stuff, because George said, we're going to sign him when the time is up. And when the Yankees got beat by Seattle in that game, remember when Edgar hit the big double down the line?
Edgar Martinez, yeah.
Within a half hour of Griffey scoring, okay, within a half hour, George Steinbrenner had called me. I was sitting in Tampa, and he called me. He says, "Have good at Ivoroni's tomorrow, restaurant in Tampa, at Ivoroni's, and we're gonna sign this guy." Wow. Imagine. Wow. And the next day, he flew back. We were at Ivoroni's, and Dwight became a Yankee.
Wow. And he pitched a no-hitter with the Yankees.
And then he pitches the no-hitter. And the funny thing about that was that Dwight's father had a bad heart attack and was not supposed to make it. And Dwight knew that his father would want him to pitch. Okay? But so he pitched the game, pitches the no-hitter. The next day, he flies home. As he's walking into the hospital, who's sitting there? George Steinbrenner.
Wow.
Okay, and George Steinbrenner held Dan's hand, Dwight's father's hand. And Dwight's father said, "Please, take care of my son."
That's why he gave him so many second chances.
Right. Please, please take care of my son.
He knew
Well,
he was there for him.
what we're getting out of all this is George Steinbrenner was an OG, man. And if George Steinbrenner liked you,
He took care of you.
It was a ride or die.
Yeah.
When
Family.
George Steinbrenner was dying, he said to me, first he said to Randy Levine, "Watch over Ray. Do me the favor and watch over Ray." And then he said to me, "Be ready to duck, because they're going to come back again," meaning the jealous people. You understand?
well, let me tell you something. Whoever's jealous of you, man, has problems, bro. Because I know one thing about you, bro. I can see from what I could see and what I know about you. That's why I love you. Is that I see what I see around you, bro. You take care of your people. You always support. You always support people. From the first day I met you, you've been supporting the show, putting me out there. William DeMeo, William DeMeo, William DeMeo. I see what you do for your friends. I see you putting it up there. It ain't phony shit. You're the real deal, bro.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I see who you hire. I see the actors you hire. You're taking care of people. The most difficult profession in the world is the acting profession. And I know that firsthand. I know that firsthand because I've been given opportunities and I wasn't ready for those opportunities. Okay? I was actually almost handed Miami Vice.
Oh, really?
Okay?
Wow.
You know, Philip Michael Thomas got that part.
Yes.
I tested for that before Philip Michael Thomas.
That's amazing.
Okay?
That was my favorite show on TV.
When I was testing, dude, I shit in the bed. You understand? I shit in the bed. I couldn't deliver a line.
It got to you, felt the pressure. It
Yes.
doesn't seem like you.
The pressure got me.
That was Michael Mann, right?
Yeah.
Miami Vice was...
But the whole thing is, in this business, is about who you know.
Right.
But you have to be prepared. I knew a major producer on the show who wanted me to have that part, and I wasn't ready.
But now you
And
are.
that happened to me a couple of times on big parts. Oh, and let me just say this: I laugh with Stephen Bauer to this day because
love
because I tested for his part
in Scarface.
in Scarface.
Wow.
Okay, I was brought there by a producer. Okay, and
Wow.
I shouldn't have bet. You understand what I'm saying?
Steve's our brother. We love Steve.
No, Steve is wonderful. Hey,
Steve's
listen,
gonna
nobody
do
was going to
this.
do that part like Stephen Bauer.
I know.
You understand?
He's great.
Nobody was going to do that.
Absolutely.
But I could have done that part, man.
Of course you could have.
Okay, but Stephen, with everything happens for a reason.
It does in life.
What is meant is
Oh,
meant.
and let me just say one more part. In The Natural. In The Natural, I was there, and I tested beautifully for The Natural. But it was a period piece, 1939.
Oh, wow.
I was too dark. They were trying to pass me off as an Italian.
Ah,
And then what happened was, at the end of the day, one of the producers said, "You know what? We don't. It's not going to work." And so they said to me, "Do you have somebody?" I said, "I have because you also needed to play baseball, and I could do that."
right.
So I said, my high school teammate, we played professionally together. I was with the Pirates, he was with the Cardinals. His name is Kenny Grassano. And I think he would be great because he's got the right look for this. They bring in Kenny, they test him, they give him the part. He has a good part. Okay, he's the one that tells Robert Redford, "Go back to the outfield, old man." Remember that? So anyway, Kenny gets that part, and people ask me, "Were you upset about that?" I said, "I was upset that I didn't get it, but I was happy that
Yes.
Kenny got it because I can live through him in that."
And that's a true friend.
Exactly.
And that's a true friend.
But
100%.
here's the thing. 2 years later, I was really happy that he got it because 2 years later he died of cancer.
Oh, wow.
Sorry to hear that.
So every time I see The Natural,
Made him live a dream.
you understand? I call
Yeah.
the family, we cry, we laugh.
You helping out.
You understand? So I'm a firm believer in God,
Absolutely.
huge believer in God, because remember the records show that there actually was a Jesus. The records are there. So in essence, I really firmly believe in God, and I believe that everything does happen for a reason.
Yeah.
Yes.
God has
And
blessed
what
you.
is meant is meant.
You know, God had. Hey, I'm not rich by no means. I haven't had a raise since George Steinbrenner died. But you know what? One time I was upset because, just like the boss said, be careful, duck when the daggers start coming. And at one point, I was going to leave. And a guy from a charity that I deal with, you know him, John Rivera.
Yeah, I love John.
John says to me, "Ray, please don't leave because you being there helps so many of these charities." And so I said, "John, you're right, because it's not about me. You understand? This is not, especially at this stage of the game.
Right.
You know, yeah, at this stage
It's
of the game,
about the
come on,
people that you're helping
yeah,
Exactly.
and what you could bring to the table
because at the end of
for
the
these
day,
people.
hey, you know what?
You're saving lives.
But at the end of the day, we die, right? So let's say there really is a God. Let's say there really is a God. And we get there. And what's he going to say? Listen, you effed up, man. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. I don't want to go through that argument with him.
No.
So I just want to get there and hope that I can just get a free pass in.
That's it. And eat good and
And
hang
you
out
will.
with all your
And you
friends.
will.
You know what I'm saying?
You will.
That's all I want.
Do you have any questions for Ray?
What was your favorite movie role that you did?
I did a movie with Andy Garcia called Blue Skies Again. and it was a fun film because, well, the moment was Andy's first film. You know, you could see right away that he was going to be the man. You know,
I see, of course.
He's great.
you know, but in working with him at that time, I felt that I was the better actor.
You have to have the confidence.
That's it.
You know what I'm
You're
saying?
natural, though, I have to say.
I just felt that's what I felt, you know. But I was wrong because he was a bad dude.
Oh,
you know?
he's
Great.
he's
You
the
know?
man.
Yeah.
Ray, how did you feel when the Cathedral, like when Yankee Stadium
Hated
got
Hated.
We were talking about that with Vic DiBitetto before, and Nick Totoro when we were at that event. About, you feel the same, bro? You don't? Do you when you're at Yankee Stadium now?
That's just some us. That's for me. That's just a stadium. Yankee Stadium is across the street, and when I'm having some moments, I go across the street and I pray. I meditate there. That's where I do my meditation. You know, because I know the spirits are there.
Yeah, they are.
It's
you
home
know?
base for you. It
Yeah.
really
Think
is.
about
It's
the
home.
people that
It's
just
sacred to
was
you.
there and ran around those bases and
Well,
Yeah.
was in the outfield.
And you know what? Like 2 weeks ago, I was honored at the United Nations
God bless.
for my 50 years in baseball and my humanitarian work.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
But the thing that they made me feel complete, like I was only allowed to bring one guest. The whole security thing there is like ridiculous, you know. So I was one
course.
guest. So I couldn't bring my wife because she was working. She didn't want to take off because she's a crossing guard when she's not at her
Aw.
company's business, you know.
Aw.
And so she had to do that. So I took my son, my oldest son, and my oldest son, who's a police officer in Suffolk County. I have two sons that are cops. He's delivered 5 babies in 5 years. So when through the security process, they found out that he was doing that he had done that. So as a surprise to me, when they introduced me, they also introduced my son.
Wow.
Wow,
And
Very
I thought
nice.
that
Such
was
an
like
honorable
the
That's
coolest
great.
thing.
for you as a
Yeah.
father.
that's great.
That's wonderful.
And Ray, did you get to meet Mickey Mantle?
Oh no,
Some-
we were friends.
Yogi Berra, obviously.
Yogi was lovely. Yogi was lovely. Mickey Mantle was my hero growing up. That was my first hero. And in my book Yankee Miracles, I started by saying Mickey Mantle smiled at me, and the reason I say that is because when I caught Mickey Mantle his last 2 years as a player, and he was a god. He was a god. To see that massive Mick with the number 7. And so in the second game of doubleheaders, Mickey Mantle wouldn't play because of the age thing.
So you were a bat boy for
No,
Mickey?
no, I was just a fan, and I would go to the doubleheaders. The second game of the doubleheaders, I would sneak and wait because I knew at one point Mickey Mantle is going to pinch hit. And I just wanted to see Mick close up. And so the minute that Mickey was coming up out of the dugout, I would run
Of course.
and, past the guards. They can throw me out afterwards. But I ran right down to the rail, and there's the Mick. And I screamed out, Mickey! And he turns around, and he gave me this smile. And that's why I started my book, The Mick Smiled at Me.
Aw.
You know what I'm saying?
How cool is
It's
that?
a love of baseball. My God.
Wow.
It's
And did you
embedded.
get to meet him later on when you became?
And then I met him I met the Mick, my first old timers day as a bat boy was in 1974. And so Mick got there, and I was the first one at the ballpark. I probably got at the ballpark at 6:30 in the morning because I didn't want to miss nothing. And I was there, and I'm waiting. I'm seeing all the old timers come in. And in those days, old timers there at Yankee Stadium was so big
Oh yeah.
that they would let the managers, if you had played for the Yankees, go to the old timers day. And so Billy Martin, who was managing the Rangers, went to old timers day. You know what I'm saying? So that was the first time. And so what had happened was Mickey was so intimidating He was so intimidating to the players that they would come to me and say, Ray, ask Mickey to sign a baseball. You know, and I did that 4 times. The players, they used me to do that. And so I remember by the 4th time, I go, Mickey, and he goes, get the F out of here with them baseballs. And I was like, oh my God. And I ran to the back room and I'm crying. Oh God, I pissed off Mickey Mantle. Oh, Jesus Christ, how could I do this to the Mick? You know? And all of a sudden I feel a hand and I turn around and it was Billy. And Billy goes, I saw what happened out there, son. Let's go. And so I said, where we going? He says, you're going to say sorry to the Mick. I said, but I didn't do anything. Son, you're going to say sorry to the Mick. I said, okay. And so then I go over there with him, and he goes, Mickey, I got a friend of yours here. And Mickey turns, God damn, how many Mexican baseballs you going to have me sign? You know what I'm saying? And then we all laughed, and that was that.
Wow.
Right.
You're a
Cool
legend.
story.
You know?
You're a
Great,
legend.
man.
So cool.
This is great.
And I love these old stories.
So
They're the best.
You can
it
never
takes
get
me
those
back
days
to my
back.
childhood because
We're almost
Buckingham
at the
was
end.
my favorite
I was-
growing up.
Ray,
Thank
could-
you.
Is there anything else you want to share with us about now, about your charities, about events or anything else that you have going that you?
I just, you know, what's funny is, number one, it's nice to be here with you guys because you guys are, you know, you're pursuing acting like baseball is always a dream. You understand? And what you do is your dream. And I'm begging you guys to never stop with your dream. Because when you do stop, it may sound corny, but when you do stop with your dream, you die.
Mm-hmm.
A very dear
Amen.
friend of mine, very dear, he's like an uncle, is Frankie Valli. Okay?
Frankie.
I love Frankie with a passion. Hey, I met Frankie at a concert in 1977. I loved his show. It was fantastic. He filled up Madison Square Garden. And I said, I was there with this bad boy. And I said, I got to meet this guy. I don't care. I got to meet him. And I go down by this dressing room, and I said to the security guard, you know, like I didn't know what I was going to say, but I said to him, excuse me, could you tell Mr. Valli that the Yankee bat boy is here? That's all I said. And so the guy goes in, and then he comes out. He says, Mr. Valli will see you now. And he
It's a
took me
dream.
in.
Frankie's great.
And Frankie didn't know nothing about baseball. He didn't know baseball. So he didn't know if he was meeting a Yankee player. Maybe he thought the Yankee bat boy was a young player or whatever. But I went in. It never came up. They brought me in. Frankie was already in his jeans and having some pasta. He goes, hey, how you doing? Yeah, how you been? Doing all right? Good, good. You know, hey, you were great. Thank you. Yeah, good, good. You know, and he invited me to his next show.
Wow.
And 40 years we have been friends.
God bless.
And let me say this, like when he's in New York, I don't bother him because I know that's his family time. But he was doing a show in Broadway, and I wanted to go to that show, so I brought tickets. And so then the other 4 seasons told Frankie that I was there. And so they said, oh, bring Ray over. And so then I go over, and he goes, hey, we left you tickets today? I said, no, I brought tickets. He says, hey, you don't ever pay for tickets. Do you understand me?
Frankie's.
You know what I'm saying?
We have his music
He's
in our show.
great.
We have 3 songs.
Oh,
from
man,
Frankie.
I'm excited about that.
Absolutely.
He's excited about that.
No, so great. We're going to use him in season 3.
I
But
can't
like,
wait.
Wow.
like you say,
Yeah.
we're gonna have the Frankie
Can't
Valli
wait.
with us. It's like how you say you experience what you bring up.
We're
It's
living
like
the dream, right?
meeting all these baseball players when you were a kid that you looked at. It's the same thing when I go on a set and I'm working with John Travolta. And as a kid,
Right.
I was a big Saturday Night Fever
Right.
fan. Now I'm working with John Travolta. I'm working with Robert De Niro.
Right.
Working with James Gandolfini.
Right.
Working with people that I
Your
idolize
heroes.
and seen. Yes, we're so blessed to be able to do that.
Right. Exactly. But you know, the one thing about Frankie was, Frankie is 89 years old, still performing. And somebody said to him at one point, Frankie, when are you going to retire? And Frankie said, for what? So I could die?
Never. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And that was important.
It keeps you going.
When you
though.
stop
It
doing,
really
when
does.
you stop working, you
Keeps you-
die. And it's
yeah.
true.
If you're passionate about it,
It
why
keeps you
stop?
youthful. It keeps you going. It keeps you happy
100%.
and keeps people happy.
Well, Ray, let me tell you, man, this has been a
A
pleasure
gentleman,
for
a
us.
scholar,
Thank you
a
for spending
wealth of
time with us
information.
today.
I mean,
Well, this is like a therapy session.
well, you're like
You
a
know what I'm
baseball
saying?
historian, and the people that you've met and went
Yeah.
through and literally had conversations with and catches and just everything is just so freaking amazing.
You know, it's funny that you say that. Is this? I'll never forget Billy Joel. First time, I think, "I Love You Just the Way You Are" had just come out, so he wasn't like known per se that way. And he's in the locker room, you know, and he was like looking around like in amazement, like he was. Dude, I think this was like 1975 or '6, but he's looking around and so all of a sudden I grab a baseball and I take it up to him. I say, hey, just in case you want to get signatures on it. And he was like, oh, wow, thank you. You know what I'm saying? And so I think about how he is now, the giant. You can't even get close
No,
to him.
you can't.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? And so you think about that, you know, it's crazy.
To see where people started,
Yeah,
where they went,
yeah.
and where they are.
And I
Where
want
they keep going.
Yeah, and you keep on doing your thing,
I'm going to try.
and
You
just
will.
keep on
We're gonna have you
making
back.
people happy and telling stories and helping people out, because it's at the end of the day that's what makes you feel good.
100%. Thank you for all that you are and all that you continue to do for
Absolutely.
I
all.
appreciate it. I appreciate
Thank
the
you.
invite, and thank you for feeling that I was good enough to be on this show. man.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
appreciate that, you know?
Absolutely, man.
The only thing that would have made this day any better is if you would have told me that you were on Miami Vice, because from 84 to 89, I was just glued to that TV.
You know-
Because I love the bad guys, but I also loved Crockett and Tubbs. I mean, just the whole thing. And
Well,
that would have been amazing.
But acting is about what you have here and what you have here. And I'll never forget, I couldn't remember a line when I was testing. And I tried to improvise it, and
That didn't work either.
because they didn't want that, because you
Right.
were going off script.
They wanted exactly
You know,
what they
some
wanted.
directors go for it, some directors don't go for it. And this particular director, he wasn't having it. And the funny thing about it was, when the show premiered, I'm sitting down with my mother, God bless her, and I remembered every
Of
damn
course.
line.
Oh my God! It
Takes
A
you
came
back
year
to
back
the
like
whole
that.
scene.
Like I was reciting every line, as Don Johnson would say, A, B, and C, and I was X, Y, Z. And my mother's like, "How did you know that?" You know what I'm saying? It was
That was
unbelievable.
supposed to be
I
Congratulations
froze
on
up,
being
Mom.
a grandfather.
Oh,
I
thank
mean,
you so much. Thank you so much. And Bronx boy Harrison Bader, I love Harrison.
Wow, what a
Okay.
great player.
And he dedicated the day my grandson was born. He dedicated that game and got a triple
Wow.
to him. So
Oh, that's cool.
I'm grateful to
Something-
Harrison. you know.
Congratulations. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for being a part of Gravesend.
Thank you for having me,
No.
and William made it easy for me that day, so I'm grateful. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad he didn't actually shoot me though.
All that.
Bringing worlds together.
Yeah. The great Ray Negron.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you.
We come from Brooklyn.